What is going on, my friends, and welcome back to another video here on the channel. Well, I want to give you an update on what's happening with Solana's price because from a macro perspective, things are actually starting to look pretty damn decent, and I want to share that with you today. And so with that said, let's not waste any more time at all, and let's get straight into the video. So looking at Solana here, today we are going to be focusing on the RSI. Now, the last time we talked about the RSI, we talked about it from a weekly perspective, and so I really want to follow back up with that because the last time I think we talked about it was like May-ish, like the beginning or end of May, and I told you all, hey, listen, we need to be a little careful right now, okay? What you have to understand is that we just saw bearish divergence to the top side of the weekly RSI. Tyler, what does that mean? Well, quite simply, what it means is that in a situation in which we put in this high right here, okay, this one, up to this high right here, right? So this high to this high, which is a higher high, we put in a lower high here. And although it might be small, it might be super subtle, it's actually extremely important. And the reason it's extremely important is because it shows that the momentum of this move was being lost. As we were going upwards, our RSI, which is a great, very strong strength and momentum gauge, was losing momentum. And as we put in the lower high compared to a higher high, it's called bearish divergence because it says, this move might be coming to an end soon. And so I told you all, we need to be a little careful about this. We might need to pull back. We might need to back test. We might need to see if we can establish support and build a foundation to continue. And of course, that is what's happening at this given point. And so going forward, now the question then becomes, well, what happens now? Well, what we can see is that this weekly RSI is currently sitting right around this 50% threshold on the RSI. And I personally absolutely love when cryptos get in this zone. The reason I love why cryptos get in this zone is because the way my brain envisions this, and this isn't the technically best way to look at it, I guess, right? Because it's not based off of the fundamental coding that creates the RSI, but it's just more of what I've seen historically. And I just trust what I've seen historically over the last 4 to 5 years. This is how I break this thing down, okay? Here, this is a leave it alone zone. This is what I call it, right? I usually will call this a leave it alone zone. When you're in between 50 and the 70, just leave it alone. Whatever you're in, just leave it alone. Say if you buy a crypto and it comes up and is going through this thing, usually that's my leave it alone zone, okay? I'm not doing much. I might be buying a little bit because there is a little bit more to the upside, but for the most part, I'm leaving it alone. When we're in this zone, which is above the 70 to 100, this is the take profit zone. It's almost always a good idea to start taking some profits when you're in this zone. Anything below that, this is called the accumulation zone. So this is just the zone in which, you're just buying a good amount, right? Every day, every week, whatever it may be, just picking up some more of that crypto, whatever it is. And anything below this is the, oh shit, buy this as much as you possibly can, as fast as you possibly can. We're not going to stay here long zone, right? And I mean, you could see that back here, right? We just barely fell out of that zone. For a split second, we got into that zone, and that was the very bottom of this market, or for Solana at least. And so I'm sure you can see that. And so now, knowing that, of course, what you can start to see is that Solana is now seemingly getting into what I think is the accumulation zone. Historically speaking, there has never been a time for a major crypto, and we're talking anything in the top 10, in which buying in this zone, buying once we're in between 50 and 30, has been a macro bad idea. Let me prove it to you. Let's go to Bitcoin, for example, okay? What I'm going to do is I'm going to go over a couple times in which Bitcoin fell below this threshold. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw straight lines up through it. So let's draw a straight line up through it there. Let's draw, it fell through it right here. It fell through it right, technically we fell through it right here. We were still below it. So let's go ahead and say like right there, this little zone actually that we were in. Let's just go ahead and call this a zone. Okay, boom. Let's go back here a little bit. Here was a time we fell below it. This little zone right here. And here was a little time that we fell through this little zone right here. Okay, let's just look at these few, okay? So, the most recent time that Bitcoin, before now, for example, fell through this zone, we were right here, okay? That was right before Bitcoin made this absolutely beautiful move to the upside. This zone in which we were in, right here, you can see quite clearly, clear as day. This was the bottoming out of the bear market. This is when we went into the last leg. Yeah, we saw a little bit of a pump and then we lost it, but the majority of the time spent under that 50% threshold was a good buying opportunity before we went and obviously put in all these gains. Back here, of course, summer lull of 2021, beautiful time to buy. That was when we entered into the 50% threshold. Going a little bit further before that, right whenever the pandemic and everything started, and of course we saw the market fall and we went into that 50% threshold, bam, you can see it right before the pump, right here, right before the pump, right here, right before this little micro pump, before the macro pump. Every single time on every major crypto that we have fallen below the 50% threshold on a weekly RSI basis over the long term, over the grand scheme of things, it has turned out to be one of the best macro buying opportunities that you could have gotten. And Solana is now sitting directly on top of that. And so the main purpose of this video is just letting you know that if you thought I was doing buying before, you don't even know what's coming. I am about to start loading my bags. Not yet. I'm still waiting. Not yet. I want to see it fall a little bit further. And if it doesn't fall a little further and it bounces, great. I've been dollar cost averaging here anyway. Don't care. It makes no difference. But you guys know I'm firm in my belief that this 618 to 786 zone is going to slow down a ton of the bearish pressure. It's going to hold Solana's price up. It's going to allow Solana's price to be met with that buying pressure that'll slow down this move so that we don't just go straight down like this. And you can see that difference, right? You look at something like Bitcoin, which is starting to already collapse. Solana's not getting that collapse. It's still holding support. And so knowing that we have a beautiful zone of support sitting right below us that goes as low as $70 while we're entering into an accumulation zone, oh, goodness gracious, that's going to be a beautiful time to buy. And so because of that, just stay tuned and just know that I've not been, my confidence has not wavered. I am still here. I am still buying. I know I might be posting a little bit less right now. Things are just kind of boring. I don't have that much to talk to, and I don't want to bore you with monotonous content. But at the end of the day, we are getting ready and we're getting prepped for what could be some absolutely massive buys here, expecting that we could find some support, whether it be here to use to continue upwards. And even if we do have another 50% to go, right? Even if we're only halfway through this pullback, I don't care, because I know that means in that last half, I need to be loading up before we do hopefully continue into this bull market. And so with that said, guys, of course, I just wanted to update you on what I was seeing, why from a macro perspective I'm getting even more bullish, and what I'm doing as a result of it. And so of course, if you guys do enjoy these videos, you can always let me know the easiest and most simple way by smashing the like button on this video, subscribing to the channel if you are new, and tuning in later when I post some more vids. But overall, of course, I hope you guys did enjoy, and I can't wait to see you all next time in the next vids. Peace out, everybody.